Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Question for you guys. What do you do when you find a house you love, but several other buyers love it and want to buy it too? We see that happen all too often. And today, I'm breaking down how you can win in a multiple offer situation. But Joe, the housing market has slowed down. Houses are sitting longer now. That doesn't mean bidding wars aren't still happening here in Kansas City. Some of our listings have gotten as many as 11 offers in the first weekend just in the last few months. In fact, the lower inventory means buyers are more likely to have to compete for the same home. So if you want your offer to stand out above the rest while getting the best possible deal, stick around for my 5 tips for winning multiple offers and one thing you should never do. Tip number 1, ask questions. Your agent is your best friend here, and their negotiation skills are key to your success. They can build rapport with the listing agent, and their communication and reputation will carry a ton of weight when the sellers choose not only the best price, but also who is most likely to get to the closing table as smoothly as possible. A good listing agent will provide as many details as their duties allow in order to help their client. So asking questions is in everyone's best interest. Your agent should ask how strong the other offers are and what about them that the listing agent can disclose. They may not be able to go into great detail, but any bit of info helps. Make sure you're working with an agent who has real experience with this and knows exactly what to do. Find out when the deadline is for your offer to be submitted so you know how long you have to decide, or let other offers come in that you may want to beat. Ask, other than price, what is most important to the seller? Maybe the seller has a hard close date they have to be out by, and they can't or don't want to do any repairs. So taking the house as is will make your offer stronger to that seller, even if the price is a little lower. The worst they can do is tell you their seller won't let them discuss details, but if you don't ask, the answer is always no. The next thing and second tip you want to consider is your price. Your goal is to win the home and avoid a bidding war. So know what the top dollar that you're comfortable paying for the home is. I always describe this as high enough that you won't regret not going higher if you don't win, but low enough that you also won't have buyer's remorse and feel like you overpaid if you do. Your agent can provide you with comparable home sales to help guide you, but ultimately that number is up to you. I usually recommend going a little over the nearest $10,000 or $5,000 mark because that's where most other offers will settle on that pretty number. Yours will be ever so slightly higher without breaking the bank. For example, instead of offering $300,000, which would be a more popular number, offer $302,000. Do your best to also remove any concessions the seller may otherwise pay on your behalf to increase their net proceeds. Paying for your own closing costs will make a huge difference. Another way to beat the bidding war and win over multiple offers as it pertains to the price, take advantage of what we call an escalation clause. In our market, we use these to allow you to offer a higher amount without drastically overpaying over what other people are offering. Again, it's important to know what your top dollar is. Say you're making an offer on a house listed at $300,000. The highest you'd be willing to pay and know it's a good value is $320,000. However, what you don't necessarily know is that the next highest offer is only $305,000. By using the escalation clause, you can offer $300,000 and agree to beat the highest offer by $2,000, but not go any higher than your max price of $320,000. This would mean that with the other offer of $305,000, your offer would become $307,000, beating the other offer in price without having to go to your max, saving you about $13,000 in this scenario. For this strategy, I always recommend going up by at least $2,000 so that the price increase makes a big difference for the seller. For all of those pricing strategies, remember that what the seller will net at closing after all fees and costs is more important than just the offer price on its face. Tip number 3, be flexible with closing and possession. If the seller has a preferred closing or move out date, try to accommodate. If the seller doesn't have a specific date yet because they're still working on getting their next home, be flexible with your own. A good option here is to choose a tentative date, but write in the additional terms that the seller will choose a closing date and stipulate how soon and how far after the contract is accepted that seller can choose the date. For example, 30 to 60 days from the effective date. You can even set in the terms when the closing date must be settled on. such as 14 days after the contract is effective. The exact numbers can be whatever works best for you and the seller, but giving them a window of time allows them flexibility while keeping some set terms to protect you as the buyer. For example, you could say, the seller can determine the closing date. It must be selected within 10 to 14 days of the effective date of the contract and must fall within a 30 to 90 day window of the effective date of the contract. That gives the seller some flexibility, but it gives you the reassurance to know what to expect. What if the house is vacant? Well, the seller's gonna want a quick close, so a good lender who has been given all the necessary documentation during the pre-approval process can often close a loan in as little as 2 weeks. Make sure you check with your lender before settling on a very quick closing, as some programs do take longer. USDA loans, for example, may take 45 to 60 days at different times. But if your loan can accommodate a quicker close, it will definitely give you an advantage. Keep in mind that the date of possession is important too. Offering the seller a couple days after closing to move out can be very helpful, especially if they're not able to move into their new home until they close on their current one. Having a closing date of May 30th, for example, and possession at 5 p.m. on June 1st gives a clear date and time when you can move in, while also giving the seller some wiggle room to arrange for movers. Make sure it is clear who is responsible for the state of the house during this time. The seller should keep their home insured until the date you take possession, and they should probably keep utilities going in their name unless you both agree otherwise. Next up, tip number 4, take advantage of your as-is options. In our market, we use what is called an in its present condition addendum. This is a great tool to win in a multiple offer situation without necessarily having to beat the highest offer price. This addendum assures the seller that they won't get stuck with a laundry list of repairs and the bill for them after the inspection period. Again, this is specific to our market, but our clients have a few different options to choose from here. Option 1 allows for you as the buyer to conduct inspections, but waives your right to renegotiate the terms of the contract while retaining your right to cancel based on what the inspection turns up. This protects you from getting stuck with more repairs than you're able or willing to handle on your own, while also assuring the seller they won't have to accommodate any repairs and can go right back to the market with their home quickly if you decide you want to cancel. Option 2 allows you to do inspections for your own FYI, but completely waives your right to cancel or negotiate. Honestly, I don't recommend this option. If you discover a deal breaker during the inspections, you're stuck and you're all in and willing to handle any potential repairs on your own. You're better off with option 3, which waives the inspection period entirely. No negotiation, no canceling, just complete assurance to the seller that you're going to complete the sale. Obviously, this is the most desirable option for the seller, but as the buyer's agent, I don't recommend it unless absolutely necessary to win the house of your dreams, or there is already a previous inspection report that you've reviewed and you're comfortable with. Finally, the 5th tip, something that's often overlooked when trying to win multiple offers: the appraisal. If you have plenty of cash to put down, your lender might be able to waive their appraisal contingency altogether. This can be a huge advantage, especially when combined with that in its present condition addendum we talked about, because the seller knows they won't have to repair anything and they have a straight shot at closing. If you can't completely waive the appraisal, you could also choose to offer to pay an additional amount in cash should the appraisal fall short of the purchase price. So say the house from earlier listed at $300,000. You put in an offer at $310,000. You can also offer to pay all or part of the difference if the appraisal value falls short of the $310,000. Something to keep in mind when doing this, I recommend writing into the terms that while you as the buyer will cover some or all of the difference between the appraised value and the purchase price, if the appraised value comes in less than the list price, it is still up for renegotiation. This keeps you from writing a blank check to the seller in the event that they overprice their home when it hit the market. Okay. So that one thing I recommend making sure you don't write the love letter you may have heard so much about. In the past, a practice that has largely fallen out of favor is writing love letters to sellers to humanize yourself and win their sympathy. This is a huge no-no. A good listing agent won't even present your letter at all, at least not until after the seller signs a contract. Even with the best of intentions, some of these personal details may influence the seller's choice based on protected class characteristics such as familial status, race, religion, and so on. It's against fair housing laws, and a well-crafted offer is going to make you a much better candidate than a personal letter anyway. Leave this practice in the past where it belongs and focus on the convenience and net proceeds when it comes to winning in multiple offer situations. Above all, make sure you have a clear idea of how much you're willing to pay, when you need to be in the house, and be willing to be flexible in any area that you can. Make sure you're using a skilled, seasoned agent that you can lean into to help boost your offer to the top. In the description below, I have included a link to our free home buying guide. In this guide, we have a whole section on all of the tips and tricks we recommend in multiple offer situations, as well as a ton of other helpful info on home buying. As always, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more Kansas City real estate tips and lifestyle videos. We release a new video every Friday. And if you'd like a Kansas City real estate expert to help you make your offer stand out, give me a call. My number is here on the screen and in the description below. I'll see you next time.